It's Oklahoma Archery. Everything archery based out of Oklahoma for Oklahomans. Let's get it started. Hello, everybody. I'm David Bosca, and this is the Oklahoma Archery Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Just a midsummer update. Want to talk about flinging some arrows with you and let you know where all the tournaments are going to be this weekend.
Yeah, we have a guest scheduled. Guest hasn't quite made it. We don't know if we're ahead or they're behind, but if they show up, yeah, we'll definitely bring them in. But if not, you get to listen to Neil and I. Man,
that's terrible. It is a rough one for sure.
Yeah.
So we're just coming off the London shoot. Had a bunch of Okies travel out there to it. Want to go ahead and congratulate all of them. Had some good finishes. We'll just run through the list since we've got an old captive audience here. First place in the senior known pro is Mr. Chad Hilburn. We'll have to twist his arm. I say Dave's got the sound effects there. And then standing on top of the podium right there with him was Marty Russell in the senior masters known and Rick Gilly in the senior legends.
Oh, isn't that cool, y'all?
Isn't that great? Other podium finishes. Second place was Brooke Storts in the women's open 45. Third place we had Rick Archer, Megan Owens, and Zach Owens. Let's see. Top 10 finishes. Dustin Leader in fourth, Carl Shipley in sixth, Richard Bradford in seventh. Top 20 finishes, we had Casey Ewells in 15th, Mason Coase in 15th. Our other Oklahoma pro, Lawson, came in 20th in the known pro. That's a deep division, so he had a good weekend that you can't do anything wrong in that. Kyle Douglas running away with it, and that was another great shoot down there. So we'll have to get back into it if our guest shows up tonight. But for everybody else, this weekend, Friday and Saturday at 9 a.m., we'll be shooting a qualifier at the SHOT 3D Experience at Sequoia State Park. I know the schedule says Post Oak Tulsa, but that venue got sold. They sold the contract right out from underneath them, so they had to change plans for their season finale, and they're going to Sequoia State Park. Setting 2 ranges, so it's not going to take very long. You're only shooting one of them, but they are going to set 2 to move you through it a little bit better. It looks like the weather's going to hold out for us this weekend to get your round shot, and then hang out at the SHOT event. They've got 5 other courses. They've got novelty shots, vendors, probably a 50 or 60 target practice range there. You can spend all weekend shooting and never shoot the same target twice. So this weekend, SHOT 3D Experience. I know there's a couple other local tournaments. I don't have the details on them, but no matter where you are, you can shoot your bow this weekend.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, seeing that Sperry is hosting an OSA NFAA unknown 3D. Yeah. It's unknown.
Yeah. 6th and 7th at Tulsa Archery Association. I think there's 2 lines Saturday and 1 Sunday. Unknown 3D, only unknown classes. That's one of your 7 state OSAA championships. So it is a state championship. Tulsa's always got a great range. They're going to use the same, the new format that they laid out for their ASA. So you go up the road and down and back, and then back down the main road. So you don't have to brave the hill. I know that was a big talking point at Tulsa Archery. They put a lot of work in, a lot of dozer work to be able to avoid the treacherous walking parts. So Dave's already in a walking boot. I'm fat and out of shape. We don't want any part of that. Yeah. Shout out to Tulsa for bringing a dozer in. I know my dad and Randy Hinton and Bobby Johnson and all those guys up there. They put a lot of thought into how they lay those out. So, y'all go out and shoot your bow. There's plenty of stuff from corner to corner of the state. We just had one ASA for the first time ever out at Quinlan, Cuddy Creek Archery with Dale Ramsey II. They put on a fantastic course. I think we had about 38 show up. So a little on the low side for attendance, but it was on top of London. It's one of the farthest away qualifiers, but I try to stress to people, we got a lot of good shooters out west that drive here every single weekend. So every once in a while, we like to go out west and give them a tournament that's in their own backyard. And I appreciate everybody. We had 38 shooters there, and I guarantee you 35 of them came up and thanked the host and thanked them for, had something nice to say. Hey, that was great. That was a great course. The terrain was very up and down. You can see a video of the mountain goat, bighorn sheep right on the side.
That, dude, I tell you what, that was like, oh my God, that looked unreal.
Yeah, that was target number 19, and we actually trickle started them all on one because the course is like a straight line down through a canyon. So he drove them over in a side by side to one, and when you got to 20, you came up the hill and you were back at base camp. So everybody shot 1 through 20, and the bighorn sheep was number 19. And by that time, you'd either had enough or realized you just weren't in good enough shooting shape to hang with this kind of event. It wasn't as bad as a tac event. It wasn't as physically strenuous as like a shot event, but it was on the harder side of terrain for your typical ASA shooters. It wasn't hard to walk. It was just there was a lot of it, and you were either down in the canyon out of the wind where the air was real still and it was getting 99 degrees, or you were up on top out of the trees, but you had the wind to play with. So there was a lot of short ones, a lot of gettable targets on it for everybody that wants to know how the layout of the range was. If you didn't come see it, highly encouraged. They're going to have 2 on the schedule next year. They were excited to have us back, and we're going to do a 20 and 20 there next time. So if you spend the driving money, spend the gas money to get out there, come on with it. You're going to shoot 2 courses. You can shoot them in the same day, or you can shoot one Saturday, get you Airbnb, get you a cabin there in Woodward, and then shoot you another one Sunday. So it's going to be good. There was a lot of short targets. There was probably 7 or 8 that you really needed to get. And the rest of them, you just kind of need to play it safe and do what you can on them. So
let me ask you, Neil, did you get them?
I did not. I missed all the short ones that I should have got. I missed a 14.5 yarder. I missed a 24 yarder. I hit some 42 yarders. I think I had
something. Isn't that the way it goes now?
Yeah. I had 6 12s, 7 8s, and 7 10s. So I was 2 down with 6 12s. It was not the best day, but I didn't execute like I should have. Jake Linker won my division. He shot 10 up. The rest of 45 was even and 2 up. So Linker had him a good day. But big shout out to Dale Ramsey, his wife, and Ridge is his business partner out there. They had built-in structured bathrooms. They cooked for us, pulled pork. They fed us all, drove us down to Target 1 on the side-by-side, had waters out all on the range. It was great. For a first time, I was just tickled with it. So look for a couple dates on the schedule next year in the spring. We're going to try to do it when it's not quite so hot, but you never know with the weather in Oklahoma. That's why Dave shoots indoor. Yeah.
Well, let the record show I've shot 4 3D tournaments this year.
You're getting up there, man.
I'm telling you.
I've shot 4 rounds in a weekend. Some of these.
We used to do that all the time and travel to 3 different places.
Yeah.
And they'd be 30 target tournaments. Most of them were 30 back then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at doing in January. We don't have the dates in January yet, but we're going to do another 30 target indoor 3D jackpot style. We found a venue that's right by the Tulsa Archery Association. You can shoot out to like 60 or 70 yards. So we're going to run lines at 30, 40, and 50 yards. 8 classes max. We're going to have kids 15 and under. We're going to have seniors 50 and older. We're going to have men's open and hunter and women's open and hunter. And that's 6. And if we have 5 pros, we're going to have a pro class. And if we have 5 trad, we're going to have a recurve class. So 8 classes max. You can shoot it as many times as you want. $60 buy-in for the first one. It's going to go up to $80, and then it's going to go up to $100. The trick here is your top 5 on Saturday are going to be a shoot down. So Friday, Saturday event. We're going to run lines all Friday and half a Saturday, and we're going to put a bulletin board up with the top 5 scores. So if you're sitting in 4th after the first flight and somebody comes and knocks you off, you can buy back in and shoot it again.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So we're going to publish. Yeah, we're going to publish the scores so you know exactly where you are. ASA style scoring, call your uppers and lowers in play, and 14s in play. So when it's indoors like that, you can't always see as good as you want to. So if they're close and you can pick them off, shoot at that 14 ring like the pros do. 30 target qualifier and 75% payback with a shoot down, hopefully televised on the Oklahoma Archery podcast. If we can get our buddy to bring his Starlink up there, shout out to Justin Parrish. He's like, there's no way I can drag my wife up to do New Year's in Tulsa, because I'm going to try to do it January 1st and 2nd in conjunction with the Tom Thomas Memorial.
I was going to say, isn't that
yeah. And it's like 6 minutes away. So you go up there, shoot the Tom Thomas, come over, shoot your first round. Best concert in the entire world is every January 1st at the Canes Ballroom. It's called the Hangover Ball for all you Red Dirt music fans. It's like the lead singer for the Turnpike Troubadours, Wade Bowen, Jason Boland, Cody Canada. They all do an acoustic song swap on January 1st every year at Canes. And it's like 6 hours. They do them 4 at a time. So there's like 3 flights of country music guys. Best concert in the world. It's like $27 to get in. You're going to see the lead singer for all your favorite country bands doing all their favorite songs. And then Saturday, we're going to run, a couple of lines each and then start the shoot downs at like 4 or 5 and have y'all home by Sunday, ready to get back to work on Monday.
So is the venue right there in Sperry? That's the only thing close to.
Yep. It's right there, there around the corner. We're going to call it the Little Town Shoot Down.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. We're going to have we're at payback 75% of the pot. The rest of the money will go towards the venue and the ASA Buckle Fund. So even though it's not an ASA shoot, since it's the targets that I have, that's what the money's going towards. And I think I'm going to come out of pocket and get the guy that makes our state plaques to do first, second, and third plaques. The payout structure will be just like ASA. So 1 to 5 guys in the class pays out first place only. 6 to 10 in the class pays out first and second, 70-30 split, and 11 or more is going to pay out first, second, and third split 50-30, 20%. So cool. Simple, big paybacks, buy in as many times as you want. There's no mulligans, but you can buy back in on the whole round. And we're going to publish the scores so you know exactly what you have to shoot to make it into that top 5 for the shoot down. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
That'll be fun. So when is the next Pro-Am?
Next Pro-Am's end of the month in Metropolis, Illinois.
Oh, so it's in June.
Yeah, end of June, 1st of July.
Okay.
It's going to be good. It's either 110 or it's a monsoon rain out. You never know what you're going to get. This is the one last year they had a rain out on, and half the people had shot their Friday round and half got rained out on their Saturday, and Sunday was going to be worse.
Oh, that's right. I remember hearing about this. This was not a well-loved.
It was less than ideal, but that's why all the Pro-Ams now, I think, have gone to an only Friday, Saturday round. There's no more Friday option, and everybody's gone by Sunday. I've never had this confirmed. I've never asked, but I think they're saving Sunday in case of a rain out. We don't know that that's their strategy, but if everybody gets rained out on Friday or everybody gets rained out Saturday, then you can bring them all back Sunday to finish their round. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hope we have good weather. Shout out to all the ASA guys. They go up there and do all the work, just hoping and praying that the weather will cooperate. But that's Mother Nature. She's undefeated.
Yeah.
But what's Dave been shooting on? What have you been tinkering with?
I actually got a list going of things that I know. It's kind of like, what have I learned or what have I implemented after doing 3D, starting some 3D to my equipment, to me, what I want to carry over to indoor, things like that. I've got a handful of things that I've done that I'm glad I did the 3D thing so that I can grow in other areas. Yeah. One of the biggest things was I went to a 41 mil scope. I've been shooting the 31, the 30, the 29s, and staying small for indoors. And I went with the 31 initially when I went out, but I went to the 41 and I like it. I absolutely love that 41 scope, and I've taken it indoors throughout the summer and I like it. I still think it. I've already got another one on route, and we're going to put that on my indoor bow. So that's one thing I learned pretty big. I like that field of view, even looking at it. Yeah. Yeah.
See, I told you a long time ago to get you a Shrewd Optum 35.
Yeah, you did. I remember that. Yep.
That's the only scope. That's the only thing you haven't tried in 3 years.
That's probably true.
I mean, there's been different bars, releases, rests, arrows, configurations, vanes, everything but the scope's changed.
Yep. Yeah, I'm picky.
It'll be the last scope you ever buy.
Well, I'm hoping that this is the last one I ever buy. But that, and then I did go to a 33-inch front bar and a 12 or a 13-inch back bar versus a 30 and a 15.
Okay.
I put less weight on the front, and I really like the 33 extension over a 30-inch extension. Really, really like the feel of it in my hand, the balance point. I like what it's doing. And I definitely am taking that indoors also. No two ways around it.
I've been tinkering with a new bow here. I'm going to go show you guys what I'm.
Yeah.
Find it real quick.
Because when I left indoors from the Indoor Nationals, I had 15 on the front and 14 on the back. And that was a 30 and 15 bar. And so now I'm 6 and I think 14. That's all I've got on my bars. So anyway,
6 and 14. I'm running 13 and 19 still.
Yeah, I got 6 and 14 right now.
So this is the see if I can get this package to be able to show you guys up here. This is from RC Shut 'em Down. If you're shooting a Darton like me, he's got this draw stop set. Okay. And everybody knows the Dartons come with a big and a little, which, you know, you can customize and play around with. This has got 5 options on there. They did a 8 millimeter, a 9 millimeter, an 11 and a half, a 12, and a 12 and a half. Those are all varying sizes around, and they're I don't know if you can see this, they're color coded, so you can see there's a white
one. I see something on them.
Yeah, white one and a red one, and it's color coded on your chart here, so you can see the different white, red, yellow, blue, and gray. So they're color coded, almost idiot proof. I don't know, but I got a second Tritech. I'm waiting on some limbs to come in for that I'm going to try with some bigger draw stops. I didn't want to change my draw length because it's just about where it needs to be, but I wanted to try to get a little bit more holding weight, see what it's going to do for my execution. So we're building out another bow, just on a whim.
And so those will actually stop you in the draw cycle.
Yes.
So okay, that's how Dartons are set up to do their let off and draw length.
Yeah, you pair those with the stock ones, and you go from having 2 options to 7 options. Gotcha. And they're 3D printed. I think you can get them for $25. RC Shut 'em Down on Facebook. Gentleman's name's Christian Frias. Sorry if I didn't say your last name right. Super good dude. I think he does some like RC race car paint stuff, and he's got a 3D printer and shoots a little archery on the side. Isn't that most of the guys that are coming out with cool stuff, like the Smith Brothers points? They make race car push
rods for race car. Yeah.
When they're slow, they make really good archery parts. It's all the guys that do tech stuff and machining that shoot archery on the side. They're like, you know, I think I can make something. I got a lathe and a CNC machine. We can put something together. So that's what I'm going to be tinkering with a little bit over the next couple of weeks. Just middle of the year. I don't want to change my bow. It's shooting good when I do my job, but I did want to have just a little bit more holding weight. Probably could have just thrown them on there and taken them off, but I didn't want to change my draw length and mess with the peep sight and everything else. So it's just easier to buy a second bow and tinker around with it. So got a purple one this time.
Purple.
Yeah. Usually just the sight and the strings are purple. So I said, okay, I'll have, you know, black sight and white strings, and we'll go make the bow purple. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
If you see me out there with it, one of 2 things has happened. Something terrible has happened with my regular bow, and I'm just having a bad time, or I really, really like the way this new one's feeling, and you're all in trouble. So it's either going to be really good or really bad if you see me with a different bow out there. So buyer beware.
Yep. The only other thing that I've got on and I'm keeping this for myself. It's a list right here on my computer. Is I started bear shafting at 30 and 35 yards versus indoors. Obviously it's just 20, but I do think that it has fine-tuned the flight of my shaft. I really do.
If it hits at 20 and it doesn't hit at 30, and you adjust it to 30, does it still hit at 20?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You're just
mine was, by the time I got from 20 to 30, it was probably 2.5, 3 inches.
Okay.
At 35, it wasn't very minor. It was very minor.
That was the old Steve Wingo theory from back in the day. He was curious because they were bear shafting. I think it was with Dan Gaston. So if anybody knows. Oh, hang on, let me take this.
Yeah. Anyway, he's on the horn. We don't know what he's talking about, but we're going to lip sync for him. Hi, everybody. This is Neil Cooley. This is your state director. I'm going to get off the picture, and that was my Neil Cooley impression. Kind of sad, I bet, but anyway. But shooting bear shaft, I don't trust, or I don't think my form is good enough to go any further to say that I trust the impact. But I can shoot 30 and 35 extremely comfortable. I have a hard time with my glasses seeing 40, 45, 50 yards. And at 40 yards, I'm not real comfortable saying that I would change the tune of my bow because of a bear shaft, because I'm not 100% sure where my dot is every single time it goes off. It's in that area, but I can't tell if it's on the left side or in the center. So that's part of my deal with bear shaft and beyond. It's not that I don't trust my form. I don't trust my form / eyesight. That's probably more closer to it. That must have been important. I bet it's his wife calling, "Sweetie, what do you want to eat?" And he's trying to get a good rundown of where she's at. It's either that or it's the boss, not meaning the wife, the boss. So, yeah. Well, shame our guest didn't come in, y'all. We had a couple pros lined up, a married couple. That's about, we're not going to toss them under the sun, but we had a couple pros lined up. There he is. I was thinking making you going, "Oh, honey, what do you want?"
Did I sound good?
Oh,
I know I look good, but did I sound as good as I look? Yeah, that was our guest lined up. Had some hot water heater issues and didn't know if it was a thermostat or else, but he's getting ready to hop on with us here.
Oh, okay.
Not to spoil the surprise for anybody, but he said, yeah, we're good to go. It's not live. We can edit out anything you say that you don't want aired. Trade secrets and all the secrets to life. So
we'll stopped. We'll end this podcast right now. No, we'll wait on them to come in.
Man, that's terrible. I feel so bad when we have a guest on and it's like a big name and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to see what he has to say." And then they gotta listen to me for 23 minutes of just rambling on there.
Well,
he's coming.
Yeah.
I can hear myself in the back. Can you hear us all right?
I can hear you guys. I can't see anything, so I may be doing something wrong.
I can
hear you though.
There you are.
Hey, there we go.
Get her all propped up there.
There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, fresh off a win in the senior pro class, straight from London, Kentucky, Mr. Jack Wallace II. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. I'm sorry to be joining you here late, but it's normal life here on the home front. We thought we had a hot water tank go down. I called my buddy and we troubleshooted the whole thing. And he's like, "Nah, I don't think you need to spend $500 on a tank. I think you got one thermostat that's not talking to the other." So I had to race to Lowe's and grab a couple of thermostats and replace them, and had to make sure wifey had hot water so we could try to move on with the evening. So just normal life like everybody else.
So nobody's getting to shoot their bow taking a cold shower. I think we can all agree on that.
No, I missed some practice time. Missed a little yardage, missed a little shooting this afternoon. So that was a bummer.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to have you on just one more time, say congratulations on the win. You've been on an absolute tear, it seems like, the past couple pro-ams. So everything's clicking for you right now. You got any, what's it look like from the top of the mountain?
A lot of folks have asked me, and I had some different students ask me. I do a lot of teaching and coaching here on the home front, and and I've got the level 3, USA Archery certification or whatever, but I never really cared a whole lot about certifications. It was more about, just having some kind of knowledge that you would share with somebody if they wanted to know it. And I've had people that I love and care about that I've tried my best to help over the years, like my little sister. She was one of my favorite students. She's 5 years younger than me, but she had won everything she could win before I'd ever did. She was a pro shooter, and she used to actually shoot against Sharon. She shot against Sharon for about 9 years before I ever spoke 9 words to Sharon. And but my sister, she got her degree and got married and wanted to have babies and live that life and all that stuff. So that was her calling. But I just the classic was about, I don't know, maybe a month before the classic. I really was trying to think about my equipment and my setup, and I actually listened to a lot of other people when trying to get used to making the switch over to Mathews. And I had, I don't know, maybe 18 of my first 20 some years as a pro was with Mathews. And when I came back, everybody's like, oh, you need to do this and you need to shoot 80% let off and you need to set your bow up like this and that. But that wasn't my shot. That wasn't how I, thought I could perform my best. But I tried, and but it just didn't seem right. Well, I made some changes there before the classic and stumbled onto a few things that I thought for me was the best for me, and then it ended up working out all right. I won the ASA World Classic in August, and then rolled into Foley and won Foley. And I was still trying to work on what I call mind, body, and spirit. And I really, really, in the off season, spent a lot of time trying to work on between the ears and trying to work on in here, because if it was 2002, I could have painted a completely different picture for you. I just walked around all happy and jolly with my head in the clouds, and just everything was great. And I think in '02 I probably won 5 tournaments as an open pro, and didn't think life could be any better than it was. And that's when I had my accident. Kid ran a stop sign. It was his first day on the job. He was driving a dump truck, pulling a trailer with a backhoe on it, and hit me in my passenger door and pushed me across my line of traffic. And then a semi hit me head on coming the other way. So that's what tore the right bicep off, broke that arm in a couple places, and it broke this wrist all up. It mashed all these bones. I got a couple pins in there and had glass cut through the left eye, and they did a super good job fixing that up, but it crushed my hip on the left side and my ankle, and I was in a wheelchair for a little bit, and it was a long recovery for me to get back mentally. And I mean, a long recovery. I mean, the physical part was actually the easiest part. So it was a real bummer. I thought I had finally learned how to win, and things was going well, and it was just it was too bad, you know. I mean, I went to college. I got a degree. I got a Bachelor of Science, and I had that, but that wasn't my passion. Shooting was. So it took a long time. So in this off season, I just thought, and I prayed a lot, and I thought, well, uh, my timetables is not his timetable. So maybe it's not what would have been, but what still could be. So I worked really hard on that and tried to cut some weight, and I dropped about, I don't know, 40 pounds. And actually, in my opinion, probably got a little too light. When I rolled into Fort Benning, I was 164 pounds. And I graduated high school in '93 at 174. So I probably was a little weak. And I finished third, and I was pretty upset about that. I was pretty perturbed. And I told our shooting staff coordinator, I told Derek Phillips, I said, that's frustrating for me. I said, a lot of people would be very happy to make a shoot down round. and very happy to podium and finish third, but I didn't work and I didn't go through the sacrifice to finish third, and I was frustrated. So I picked up the pace a little bit, and I was able to win Louisiana, and then come into London. I tried to increase it a little more. I actually talked to Nathan Brooks about it a little bit, who was doing some of the commentary, and I really studied and thought about people who had been successful in London, Kentucky in the past that I have massive respect for. One of them is Levi Morgan. And Levi grew up in the mountains in North Carolina, but he always had such a strong core. Levi was able to shoot uphill, downhill, side hill, and shoot his same shot. So what I did to prepare for London, one thing, just one that I did for Sharon and myself, was I built a platform, and it was 24 by 24 inches, and I could adjust the angles on it and shoot it, 90 degrees around, to shoot off balance with either foot, uphill, downhill, or side hill, to try to really engage my core and try to strengthen that to be ready for the odd footing and stuff like that. So that's what I did, and that was, to me, one of the things that probably helped me and Sharon the most to roll into London. The typical things, lighting. Well, we've spent years trying to figure out the right lenses, clarifiers, and understand how to use an umbrella. We're allowed one, golf size regulation umbrella for shooting, and what I teach people is just imagine a straight line from the target's 12 ring to your scope lens to your clarifier. And if you could envision that straight line, you put a black umbrella behind you, that should counteract you from, if you're shooting downhill, it should counteract you from the blue skies up above you, behind you. If you're shooting uphill, it should shade you from the bright grass and the gravel and all that stuff behind you. So that's, in a nutshell, how I just kind of went from kind of just showing up at the shoots and being close to winning 4 of the last 5.
Wow. That's pro shooting right there, sir. That's thinking beyond the bow.
Yeah. I remember coming back from a trail shoot in Indiana 2 years ago. Dave's got a warehouse that we shoot in, and I came up there, and I wasn't sure if my third axis was off, but the uphill downhill stuff I was really having trouble executing with the hinge. And he's got me standing up on top of jump on a forklift, raise it all the way up, shoot down like this at the target. And then it's like, okay, that's pretty good. I don't have any left and right issues. Okay, let's stand on the ground and put the target up on the forklift. Now we're shooting this way. And what we'd figured out is my third axis was dead on, but it was me drawing here and drawing down at it instead of drawing level and bending at the hip. It was just me drawing and drop my arm, and I was blowing them out the top, having all kinds of execution issues. And it was a form thing, but we had to do some unconventional diagnostics to figure out, okay, where's the loose screw? Is it between your ears? Is it your form, your setup, your equipment? And I mean, we spent 3 or 4 hours just running the forklift up and down, trying to figure out why I'd had such a bad weekend at the Bass and Bucks trail shoot. And
normally it's just the littlest thing. It's a little thing. And I remember when I first moved to this property, it was funny because it was flatter than I was used to. So I had students come over and they laughed and they're like, why do you have a target on a hoist up in a tree? And I did. I had a hoist and a little cable rig I had rigged up, and I could hoist this target just straight up a tree, and it wasn't very far, but I mean it was the most extreme angle that I could practice and prepare, and back then, which was, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I had a platform then. And it got old and kind of wore out, and dry rotted. And I had long since thrown it away. And I got to thinking, I was like, you know what? If things worked, why would you leave it? So that's why I built this another platform to get Sharon and I kind of ready for.
You realize that everybody's going to be building platforms 2 weeks before Kentucky next year.
So
Well,
this
it's funny because we shoot the IBOs as well, and it depends on which event and who sets it, and you never know what range you're going to go to. You could have anything, but in the old days of the IBO, it was extremely rugged, especially legs like the third leg that they call the challenge. I mean, you'd be shooting really, really uphill, downhill, side hill. Same thing with the IBO Worlds. It was normally always held in a very challenging location. Well, I have ignored that, a lot, and but not this time. I think the platform's going to get really good use as we get ready to head towards Pennsylvania, and then the challenge in Ohio, and then rolling into the IBO World there in West Virginia. So
Well, let's take that platform. What were you studying more than anything else? Your form, your position, your eye, the the
for
execute. What were
me,
you
my own
studying?
weaknesses, my own weaknesses, because like my left, I used to. Well, I grew up in big, heavily wooded areas there in the Midwest and big hills. And so I shot, side hill, uphill, downhill all the time. It was no big deal. But after the wreck, I never caught that with that left ankle of mine being almost fused, that man, something felt unstable. But I never diagnosed it. I just said, well, it just is what it is. I'm really trying to figure that out. And I come to find out, you know, where I thought it was of the four positions of the platform, it was with my left lead foot in a certain direction. That was my least stable position. Well, the new rules in the ASA and the IB, now this would have been different if it would have been years ago, because you could flatten out the ground, you could scuff the ground up and shuffle your feet, and you could pull some leaves over, some sticks or whatever. Well, all that's different in the IBO and the ASA now. Now it is you can't disturb the ground, you touch the stake. That's it. So, and that's fine. So I thought, man, I got to figure this out. And everybody's different. Some people, they may be steadier with some more weight on their rear foot, or some people are more steady with their weight on their front foot, or toes downhill, uphill, whatever. I had to figure that out for me, and it was actually very different for Sharon. She was more stable with everything on that front lead foot, and it was different for me. But it was just one of those little things. I thought, you know what, if it puts 1 point on your scoreboard, 1 point,
Yeah.
that's huge, because people don't understand how that adds up. And for me, I had such a rough start in London, Kentucky. I mean, I shot a 5 2/8 to begin with. I was 9 points down. I was 15 points off the leader after 5 targets. Somehow, after day one, I had pulled to where I was a point in the lead. And then on day two, almost the same thing happened, and it was opposite footing, because we shot downhill for 20 straight targets on day one. Well, on day two, we, for the most part, shot uphill, flat to uphill for 20 targets. And it took me a little bit to get used to it. And I had, some bad shots, and shot an arrow. I remember on a coyote, it was probably a 47-yard coyote uphill, angled between a couple of trees, and I shot a great shot. I shot him for 46 to play safe, called upper. I was just going to let it fall into the 10, and it fived it high. And I couldn't explain it, but at the same time, there was no reason for me to think about it and dwell on it and all that stuff. So I just basically laid my stuff down. I walked away from the stake. I turned around and I come back, and I told myself, well, basically you just shot 2/8. You didn't shoot a 5. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you shot 2/8. Well, I 12'd the next two targets and was basically right back where I was. And And it took a while. It was a battle, and Mike pulled ahead of me a couple of points going in the shoot down round. But my goal is always to have myself in a position to win the shoot on the final arrow. And it just so happens we went in the shoot down round, and I shot a bonus ring or two. So did he, and then we come to that final target, and it was a sixth and final arrow on a javelina, and I felt good about it and felt confident, and I was able to make a decent shot, and it hit the 12, and I was able to win that one. So it's just the little things, man. It's just trying to find ways to put 1 point on your scoreboard, and 1 point here, 1 point there, they all add up, and at the end of the weekend, it can put you in a position to win.
Well, we've gotten this far and we have yet to ask you if you'd go through your setup. What's your setup?
It's very similar to last year, so it's a Mathews Title 38. It's a 2026 model. Bowfinger sight, love the sight. I mean, it's the toughest sight I've ever shot. I mean, you can beat this thing with a hammer and nothing moves on it. I shoot Bowfinger scopes, uh, X Focus 365 lenses. It's a dual fused lens, and it's a very thick, heavy lens, and they're so crystal clear, it's crazy. I run a 6 power lens, except I run it completely against the bow as tight as I can get it with a number 2 clarifier. Now, if you type that in the computer and you do the math on it, it actually comes out to like a 0.675 diopter. So it's basically a 5.5 power. So I run that. Run QAD's Tri-Rest as a blade. AAE stabilizers. They are the lightest stabilizers that I know of. Half-inch diameters, and they're light, they're thin, so the weight that I put on the end of the stabilizers, it's doing the most work. The weight is as far as I can get it away from me. It's the furthest distal end of the bow, so it's doing more than an extremely heavy stabilizer with weight at the ends. The tubes, my carbon tubes, from the AAE, they don't weigh anything. So the weight on the end is doing better work. Victory arrows, I run the VTAC 25. I feel like it's probably the best all-round 3D arrow that's ever been built. They only weigh around, I'm on a ballpark, 7.3 grains an inch or so as a 25. Their carbon is built differently. It's wrapped differently. They're extremely, extremely durable. And I get a 25 diameter, but very lightweight, so I can run 125 grain points in them. I run the competition Archery Products is ballistic points from Jesse Broadwater, and it's a super long point. I don't ever have to worry about glance offs. I don't aim off. If there's an arrow in the upper, I don't care. I'm still calling upper. And as my arrow comes in from above, normally if I hit an arrow that's in the upper, it's going to glance downward somewhere from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and the points have been phenomenal. So I run those, run Tac Vanes. I run the new driver HPs. To me, I don't know how you could beat the Vane. It's over 2 inches. It's really high. It reaches height steeply, quickly, and then drops off. And they only weigh 4.5 grains a piece or whatever, but they're extremely, extremely stiff. So for it doing its job as a vane, it's hard to beat. Um, and I shoot, different releases. I train with a tension release a lot. Different back tension releases I enjoy. I've only won 3 or 4 world titles, but all of them but one was with a tension release, and then one was with a wrist strap, an index finger. It depends on the holding weight of my bow. This bow is a 75% let off bow, and I can get away with shooting just a wrist strap index finger release. So I shoot True Balls Execute. I think that's been the best index finger that I've shot to this point, because it's like a AK-47 or a Glock. You can't kill that thing. I mean, I shoot it in the rain. I've shot it in I've hunted with it in Montana, New Mexico, Ohio, everything else, and I can't kill this thing. So for an index finger, I shoot that one. Back tensions, that's that can be anybody, whatever fits somebody. But I like HT Pros, and several different tension releases that I just shoot to train with when I'm just working my aim and my pull and just staying on target. But you know, Zeiss on my optics. Um, but I got some fantastic sponsors that really I believe in their stuff, and I believe their stuff puts a point on my board. BHE grips. Um, Almost no one's heard of BHE, and to me, that was the secret to the Mathews bow. There's only two things that connect you to your bow. Your grip, and then the release. What gets you on this backside? Well, everybody's so different on their grip. Um, I met Chris from BHE, and he's a brilliant engineer. He's a dual engineer, mechanical engineer, and software engineer who loves archery, loves shooting, and he had been making multiple grips and giving them away to friends forever. And then he realized he might have something here. So I'd worked with him some, and he's got different angles, low, medium, high, with shelves, without, rounded backs, flat backs, and everybody's different. Sharon shoots the mid, rounded back with a shelf. I shoot the low, flat back with a shelf. And to me, that was one of the biggest things that just all of a sudden clicked, and it turned all my Mathews bows. I don't care if it's my hunting bow. I don't care if it's my Arc 34, if it's my titles. Just turn things around right now. So love my BHE grips. Um, it's just every little thing needs to be part of your arsenal that you believe in your heart puts a point on your scoreboard. So that's just kind of how I looked at all of it.
Y'all finish shooting on Saturday midday, generally.
Mhm.
You got a few hours there. What does Jack Wallace do in that downtime?
Well, it varies because it used to be I shot later in the afternoon and closer to Sharon's time. Well, now I'm the first to shoot. Now that I'm 50, I'm the first group they bring out. So what we normally do is we visit with the sponsors and talk to who we need to talk to, and visit with folks, and then we get off site. Uh, Try to grab a typical sandwich. Try to get something in me about 2 hours before I shoot, because I don't want anything digesting. I don't want anything pulling blood from my eyes. I want everything in my system. So we'll do the typical. We'll grab a sandwich or a sub or a whatever. Race back to the hotel, get cleaned up, change some clothes, whatever. Not get too sleepy, like the day's going drowsy eyed or whatever. And then I got to get back on site, and then I want to warm up and try to get prepared. And for London, what I did different was we got back to the site quickly, and I went out there on the practice range where the tornado had went through. And the first 12 targets of the practice range, there was no trees anymore. There was no woods, which was interesting because I had shot in the woods for the last 8 hours, 4 hours on Friday and 4 on Saturday. So it was nice to see stuff in the wide open. And I was just trying to recalibrate my brain and think about that before it was time to come out there and, mix it up in the shoot off. So that's kind of that was that routine, at least for this one.
Yeah. A lot of people often wonder, what are they doing? Are they staying under the tents? But you go out, you replenish, you still got a job to finish.
Yeah, it's you just got yourself to the dance, but you got a lot of work to do yet. And although it may only be, 25, 30 minutes more of work, it's the most important 25, 30 minutes, because you can win it, or you can't win it on day one, you can lose it on day one. But you got to finish the race in those last 5 to 6 targets. So that's you got to be ready.
Okay, Sharon comes up. She does her win. Y'all go around. You congratulate. You let the sponsors get what pictures they need, and y'all hit the road. Did the adrenaline? Did y'all just drive nonstop? Did you?
No,
We're going to
actually,
scrub the top
no.
layer off and get up
We
in the
we
morning.
actually try to eat pretty clean and try to be semi healthy. Not always, but actually, what I've been doing because since I felt weakness there at Fort Benning, what I've been doing was train hard like for 2 3 weeks, and then the week of the shoot, we will do a ton of pre-hydration, lots and lots of hydration, and then I'll carb load the couple of days before the shoot to really fill my muscles and to feel extra strong on like Friday, Saturday. Well, Sharon will not treat herself or reward herself unless she does something really special. So our special treat is ice cream. So and everybody makes a joke about Sharon and the sprinkles on her ice cream. So it just so happens that London, Kentucky added a Cold Stone Creamery ice cream shop to their town, and so she said, "I'm not having anything unless I win this shoot." So when we won, we left there and stopped at Jimmy John's was our big or Jersey Mike's or whatever that sandwich place was. So we grabbed a sandwich, and right next door was Cold Stone Creamery ice cream. So we both got an ice cream, and that was our big reward. And just since we were on such a high, and then there was such an adrenaline dump, and just so tired, we went ahead and stayed right there in town. We just stayed in town and took off Sunday morning early, and yeah, took the back roads. We didn't run 40. We didn't run through Atlanta. We just took back roads all the way home, just taking it easy and enjoying the scenery, and then spent the drive Sunday just thinking about it and just letting it sink in. And then when Monday hit, we went right back to work. So.
Cool. Cool.
Was that the first time that you'd both taken first at a big tournament, or has that happened a couple times already?
It's happened a few times. I think that was probably maybe the third time for us, but it is extra special when we're both able to do that. It's a special thing, and no different than Dan or Emily. It's really really special when you and your partner can both get it done. So.
Yeah. Kind of justifies what you feel is proper training.
Yeah, and I do love to teach and coach and train, and I do it all here on the property. The property, we've got, I don't know, maybe 117 different animals set right now, and the property's all fenced, and it's just us and the puppies. We don't have any little kids, just furry kids, and but it's really really neat when you see the work that whether it be with your significant other like Sharon and favorite student, or if it's one of your students. I love seeing them all do well, and there's a lot of people at the shoots that I've worked with that I'm hoping to do great along the way, and that's always rewarding because when they're winning, you're winning with them.
What's your plans for the future? Are you wanting to is your schedule full with students? Are you wanting to grow that more? What's Jack Wallace's goal?
I don't know. There was a company called Gander Mountain that some folks have heard of years back. I opened one of the first Gander Mountain stores in Columbus, Ohio, and we did a lot of guns back then. A lot of gun stuff. I enjoyed, of course, the archery side of the store, but like most jobs, I needed to make a decision on, did I want to work retail sales or did I want to be a competitor? Well, I had just won the world championship back to back 2 years in a row, and I was kind of leaning towards archery. You can always go to work, and I could always use the degree. And I do got a patent out right now that's pending on an archery product, and I've got a book full of ideas that I would love to develop and get out there that I think some of them are, I think some cool ideas. Some of them are safety ideas. I've got a safety harness that I think would be really cool that I'd love to release. Um, I do love teaching and coaching, but I want to compete as long as I can because I've had some people I looked up to that were just beast competitors. I remember, like Tom Crow, Derry Knoll. I mean, they were 60 years old winning.
Yes.
And, like Derry, he was able to build his wife her dream mansion, and he paid for it in cash with archery money. And, they're living their best life. And Tom, he was 60 years old, shooting 80 pounds and still winning. So that I have some folks to look up to and to follow by. And I know every single day it'll get harder. I know every single year there's going to be new people coming into the class, and I find that awesome. I find that motivation and that drive really, really cool because if they can outwork me, then I will shake their hand and congratulate them, and it'll just push me to try to work a little harder next time. So for now, I'm just going to keep working. I'm going to keep pushing, keep hunting when I get lucky enough to draw a tag somewhere, and just keep doing my thing. But yeah, teaching and coaching, I love it when I've got the availability, I got the time, and somebody can fit me into the schedule. Yeah, I love it. The yardage part, game plan execution, technical stuff, whatever. I really, really enjoy that because sometimes you can tell somebody something in 10 minutes that might save them 2 years of wasted time. So I enjoy that very much.
In the down season of 3D, I know you've hit a few indoors, but that's just not your cup of tea, is it?
I never really
Yeah.
cared about it. And it's funny because people would say, well, why? Like Vegas is such a big shoot or this or that's such a big shoot. Well, when I was young, and now this is in the early 90s, it was like you could go to Vegas and I could have won Vegas and it was like $2,500. And my goodness, the plane ticket and the food and the motel and that. I mean, that just seemed silly to me. And at that time, the ASA was sponsored by
Pers-
Pennzoil, Miller Genuine Draft, and NRA. And they were paying 10 grand to shoot, and then the sponsors were paying at least 10. Shooter of the year was $50,000 then. So it never made sense for me to sacrifice all this work, time, and effort for a dot shoot or a couple of dot shoots when I had 6 or 7 or more of these 3D shoots that more closely related to my hunting situation and my background and my past that I loved the most. So, do I still want to do something special in Lancaster? Yeah, just because I love my fold. He was a great friend. Matter of fact, Rob fletched my arrows for me. I was in the wheelchair, and I went through what I went through. Rob and Lancaster Archery, they fletched my arrows for me that whole next year, and that was pretty special, and I never forgot that. So I would still like to do good at the classic. Making the shoot off is a big deal, and I did this year. I made top 16, and I was preparing and training for Vegas, but had to leave and come home early. And we ended up losing my little dog, a little boxer. She's a good dog. She was kind of the protector of the property. But I might get serious about Vegas one of these days. But a lot of the other stuff, there's a lot of weird things about some of those other tournaments that, to me, the sacrifice. Well, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. On some of the stuff like. I don't need to name what the shoots are, but yeah, it just doesn't appeal to me like the 3D does.
Well, the basis of my thought with that is it sounds like you really enjoy teaching, coaching. So in that downtime, and I call it downtime, not off time, downtime, have you ever put a calendar together and put the word out to shops? Hey, let me come and do a seminar. I got a setup that I'd like to try to run. through
I
15
never
or 20
actually
people?
have. It's always been invitations for the most part, and
Okay.
I've did that for shops before. I've went and I've did invitational deals, and when Cara Kelly got kind of Archer up and going, we did some of the judge on stuff. Man, I did some of the podcasts like with Bo Junkie, judging with Jack and that series and stuff like that. And I enjoyed it. I loved it. And it was really cool doing a couple of those seminars with Cara and the Archer girls because, we would have people join in live and then we would go on site out on a range and I'd walk groups of people through and give them situations, and we did that in different states, and that was really cool. I enjoyed that, very much. But for the most part, usually the people just kind of hear through the grapevine. They know that I do it. I don't advertise. I don't talk about it a lot, so I end up getting messages through Facebook Messenger, and people come in from all over the country, and I usually will set them up in some way. I live. Halfway between Atlanta and Charlotte, right on I-85. So the town closest to me is Anderson, South Carolina. I'm 15 minutes down the road from Clemson University. So I'm right on Lake Hartwell. And so people can drive in or they, fly into Atlanta or Charlotte. And normally we can have a half day or full day or whatever works for people. But usually folks just reach out through me on Messenger
Okay.
when they know what's going on. And if schedules work and we can put everything together and travel wise, it works for everybody, we do the best we can.
So we've got a lot of guys shooting the ASA in Oklahoma that are, I don't know if they're just figuring out judging as a thing or unknown archery, the side of it, but I've heard more about the judging with Jack series as just the go-to. How do I even start thinking about this as a strategy? And I mean, I could rattle off a dozen people right now that are probably losing their minds just thinking, oh yeah, because I shoot known, but I did listen to it because I mean, listen to everything Bo Junkie puts out. It's just it's must see TV, but. I've got, give me 5 targets and I'll get a couple of them within a yard or two. I'll get a couple of them within 1/10 of a yard. And that 5th one I'll miss by 10 yards. It's a roller coaster of emotions that I'm not mentally prepared for sometimes.
It's just something to attack, and it's about your notes, and it's about finding out. All right, well, is it a particular target itself? Is it always this weirdo shaped target? Is it always this funky shaped leopard, or is it always a black target that is tricky because he looks farther than what he is? Is it always a really small target, or is it always targets? In a certain block of yardage, between 45 and 50 yards, is that where this occurs? And little things like your yardage notebook, they will reveal those secrets to you. And it's funny because a lot of people, they'll believe, well, I'm going to work on my bow and I'm going to tune it and I'm going to bare shaft it and I'm going to tune my way to a win. No, no, you're not. You're not going to out tune Matthias Fullerton or Bodie Turner. And some people are like, well, I'm gonna practice and I'm gonna shoot better groups. I'm gonna shoot tighter arrows. Well, you're not gonna just out group Kyle Douglas. You're not gonna do that. But in something like unknown 3D archery, it's not just one thing. You put some points on your board with your bow and your tune. You put some points on your board with your setup, but your game plan and your strategy and your knowledge of your shot, your footing, lighting, whatever. So it's one of those things that I loved about archery. You ain't got to be the tallest, fastest, strongest, blah blah blah. You don't have to have all that. It's nothing God given. You learn every piece of archery. So take all the different pieces, put that puzzle together, and then when you add it all up, you can be there at the end, or at least put yourself in a position to win it at the end. And that's all that any of us can ask for or want.
Because
So
go ahead.
So as far as course management goes, you'd already answered one of the questions I wanted to ask about glance outs running the Jesse Broadwater competition ballistic points. So you're not worried about kicking out. And this is kind of a two-parter, and kind of walk me through your thinking. Like, say, do you normally play the rise or the fall, and then say, you always like the coyote, you judge it long or you judge it short. What are you thinking stepping up to the stake? Like, okay, I think he's 46 at least. He could be 47, 48. So I need to play the drop. Or are you looking at that more like just where you want to aim for, pick your best spot? Are you aiming IBO and letting it rise, letting it fall? Like, if you've got 3 or 4 different voices in your head going, okay, this one's the coyote, the ground's telling me this is.
I got more voices in my head than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, I'm saying there's like 6 of them going off on every target.
So what I do is I walk up to the stake, and the first thing I do is I give it 3 numbers. And as soon as I look at the target, immediately I'll go 41, 42, 43. I know it's one of those 3 numbers. I don't think. I know it is. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, 41, 42, 43. All right, what's my tendency on this medium HD deer? Well, my tendency would be to overjudge him a yard. Well, I'm going to immediately eliminate 43. So now I know he's 41, 42, and I'm going to look at it. I'm going to, all right, what do you see? So with my naked eye, I'll say, well, I'll see that dark spot. I see that shadow. I see whatever. Raise my binos up. I was like, oh, well, that's on the top side of the 10 ring. Well, if I see that, I'm probably going to aim at it. Well, if it's on the top side of the 10 ring, the smartest thing to do is to say he is 41. Now, when I reach up to the sight, I play a drop. I'm different than almost anyone I know. I shoot a down pin. So my pin, if I want to hit the bullseye, I'm aligning my pin, and it's coming down on the target slowly, and then I just let it somewhat post, a lollipop on the top of the target. I see my aiming area, and there's no tension. There's no stress there. You can imagine trying to shoot at a 50-yard turkey uphill that's angled, and you got your pin on the bottom of the 10 ring. There's all that tension. And well, I don't have that because I'm shooting down pin. I'm coming down on the spot, and all I want to do is either hit my bullseye or control the direction of my miss. I don't ever fire my arrow wondering, am I going to hit high or low? I am going to hit the spot or control the direction of the miss. So I always play a drop. I call uppers on every single target, period. I call uppers, hit the top of the 10 ring, or control the direction of the miss. And that is what gives me, I guess, my piece to execute.
Yeah, you got to be good mentally to let it go physically. I've told people I don't understand for 3D for ASA 3D with uppers and lowers. I don't see why anyone would shoot anything but a down pin. I shoot the same thing. I'm mostly lowers, but I can see the bottom of that 10, so I know I'm not too low. And
if you're looking at your 12, you're up in it, and if your pin's below it, you can't see it. So that's an intelligent way to look at it.
It works for lowers and it works for uppers the same way. Some people do the side diagonal like this. I just run it straight from the top, and I can see
everything I've done. There's a reason, and I don't care if it's even a lucky charm hanging on my stool that the nieces gave me, but everything is there for a reason. I met with eye doctors, and they taught me that the human eye contrasts blue better than the other color. So I shoot a 10,000ths blue pin, period. I'm not shooting purple or red or green or orange. I've won world titles with orange, I've won them with green, and I've won them with yellow. But my eye does contrast blue better than anything else. So I'm going to shoot blue. And the human eye centers better vertically than it does horizontally. Now, although I've won with a horizontal pin, I'm going to shoot something vertical because it's proven the human eye centers better that way. Now, the stuff in from an angle, I believe that works great for people with, that they're maybe punchers or maybe they got some form of target paint. That's fine. But I don't need that. I would rather have the alignment of vertical. So that's
it makes sense the way you explain it, and I'm glad somebody at a high level was like, okay, yeah, I was thinking that too. It just hadn't happened for me yet. But my day will come. It'll be there.
You just keep hacking at them. You just keep putting yourself into position.
Yeah. And I've turned in good scores this year. I've turned in bad scores this year. I've been everywhere from 22 up to 22 down. And, I don't go chasing the bow, making changes. I've shot the same draw length, the same stabilizer weights, the same, I've made my button a little more heavy. And you said something earlier that I wanted to go back to, talking about training with the tension or training with the back tension. You're shooting your wrist release currently, right?
Yeah, for score, I'm normally going to shoot that index finger right now.
Any specific reason why that's your go-to for competition?
Holding weight wise, I mean, I'm assuming everybody's different, but for me, if I'm, up to about 19 pounds of holding weight, I would shoot an index finger wrist strap release really, really well. But if it gets over that, and if it's a cam that I really like that's holding, like 20, 21, 22 pounds, I seem to shoot a handheld tension release a little better. It took me 20 years to win the ASA World Classic, and that was the last tournament that I needed to win to say that I'd won them all that I wanted to win, and that was 2014. I won that as an open pro. Well, that bow held 22 pounds at full draw, and I won it with a brass back tension release, an HT Pro. And that was okay. It held great. It was forgiving and all that. But as an example, exact opposite, I won a tournament with a bow that was holding 13 or 14 pounds. I was not as consistent with that because my pull wasn't as consistent. Well, you're not going to hit as consistently. So I won that with an index finger release. Well, it just so happens this cam, where it feels and where its holding weight is, I'm better off right now to, when it's for score and it's for one era for all the marbles, to shoot the index finger release, and that's great. And I can practice with whatever, I can shoot a button just to aim, and it's just to work on a squeeze, and I can shoot a tension release just to work on the pull and the follow through. But when I'm out there day in, day out, shooting uphill, downhill, side hill, wind, lighting, this cam on the title, and at 75%, it's got a pretty short valley. So you really kind of got to be super consistent with it. And I'm finding myself easier to do that with the index right now.
Do you have to change anything on your setup to practice with a back tension or practice with a resistance, or do you just leave the bow alone, knowing that you're going to shoot the wrist strap on tournament day, and you're just
leave it alone?
Okay,
yeah, I leave it alone. I adjust myself for the button or the tension or the whatever, and I just let it be. Just let it be, and just say that's what it is. And I learn a shot with it where they both, well, like the tension and the strap, they pretty much hit the same. And in theory, that that wouldn't always be the case, because the tension release has got a hook that opens up, and then the index is really aligned well, and that gate opens on the jaw a little differently. But for the most part, they hit pretty darn close to the same, so it makes them enjoyable, to train with one or the other and just pull it out every little bit and work on the pull.
And work on letting your mind's eye see it while you execute.
Yeah, just to stare. Just stare. If you're staring, you're aiming.
That makes sense. I've picked up a resistance release a couple of weeks ago, and I think I'm only holding 12 pounds, and I've got that thing set at about 29, 30. And sometimes I let my thumb off and it's gone. And other times I'm just pulling and pulling and pulling. I can't get it to go. So we're going to up the holding weight on the bow and see if that makes me execute better. But
I think you may find some increased forgiveness.
Yeah.
I in my opinion, I think you would. Yeah.
I mean, I come from shooting the old 40-inch axle to axle Hoyts, where it was either 65, 70% let off. And right now I think I'm between 80 and 85 on my Tritech. So it's different. I like it, but I'm having to retrain myself how to execute. And I'm like, well, let's not fight 30 years of shooting. Let's get back to the percentages that, like the SVX cam was 70% let off. did
Yeah.
better with that than anything.
Yeah, I agree. I think the more weight that you can comfortably hold at full draw, and I don't care what a person pulls. You can pull 40 pounds or you can pull 60 or 70. I don't care what you pull, but your holding weight, the more that you can hold, it keeps your bones, form, and body in line. I think the more forgiving your setup's going to be, and you would see that with a Kyle Douglas, you'd see it with Bodie Turner, you'd see it with Paige Pierce, you'd see it with Ella Gibson, Tanya Gillantine. And even if their physical bow doesn't hold it, they put enough front stabilizer weight on it that they have to pull so hard that it does the same thing. It's the same feeling. So
that
I
we,
think
we
you'll find some success with that.
we've been flummoxed trying to figure out the numbers on this resistance release, because I run 13 ounces on the front, 19 on the back. It's not real heavy, but it's substantial. And I'm sitting here going, am I pulling that much just to keep my bow off that I've got 30 pounds of tension there? Because I know I'm only holding 12. And
You could be actually, because if you think about it, like imagine two bars. Imagine a broomstick. Okay, so you got a broomstick. You're holding a broom, and you tie a string to the top of the broom and a string to the bottom of the broom. And then you grab hold of the string and you hold it at full draw. Can you imagine how easy that is to hold the broomstick up?
yes,
Doesn't weigh anything. Now I want you to imagine having a 45-pound Olympic weightlifting bar.
okay,
Now, it's a 6-foot long bar or whatever. Tie a string to the top of it and the bottom of it. Pull that string back. Can you imagine how hard you'd have to pull to keep that up?
no,
That's exactly what people have that are doing a lot of the FIDA stuff or World Archery or whatever. A lot of the people that are putting, 20, 25, 30 ounces on the front of their stabilizer, they're having to pull so hard this way to keep the pin up. And that's why a lot of times when you see misses, 95% of all misses, especially in that dot world, when you study the targets, are from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock out the bottom.
Mhm.
So just little things to think about, and you do whatever you got to do to put the points on your scoreboard.
Don't be afraid to make a change if it's, because you can always go back, but it might be the secret ingredient you're searching for.
Correct.
And I try to tell people, we teach like these kids and people that are new to archery, you teach them to good form, you teach them to execute, you teach them to win. We never teach them how to miss an arrow, because as soon as they miss one, it's, oh, we got to tear the bow down. Oh, we got to tune this. I got to get these arrows. I'm refletching. I'm changing point weight. I'm getting a different release. And it's like, you can just miss. Oh, Dave's feeling attacked now.
You just learn from it, and you just but it's the whole thing. It's mind, body, spirit. It's the whole thing. You gotta have it here, and you gotta have it here. You gotta get out of your own way. For me, I had to learn how to win again. I was winning, and I went through such a low period and such a dark, sad period of just of losing and suffering from loss, that it just wasn't my time. And in this off season, I had to really think about how to get out of my own way and just learn to win again and not complicate it. So that's been the biggest secret that I've put together to win 3 this season, and well, 4 of the last 5, counting the last year's World Classic, to finish the season. So that's been my biggest key that I could pass on to somebody.
Well, I've got one last question myself. I'm an index shooter again. Got out of it for 3-4 years. I'm back to it. How heavy do you have your trigger?
I don't have it real heavy. It's the factory standard medium weight spring, and I have a theory on that. For me personally, I don't shoot a super super heavy bow. I shoot a bow on correction, so I never take my eyes off what I want to hit ever. So if the bow's moving around, that's fine. It's always going to come back to center. That seeking center principle is the same thing they teach offhand rifle shooters, and that's what I've always shot and lived by. Gun or bow. And because my bow's not going to go over here and wiggle over here, it's going to go wherever I'm looking. So as long as I don't take my eyes off what I want to hit, that's where my bow's at. Well, if my trigger is ungodly heavy and I got to pull on it, Well, I'm pulling myself all over the place. So I don't have my trigger set ridiculously heavy. But that's also based on the mass weight of my bow. I have a lightweight bow. Sharon's bow is quite heavy. She shoots heavier stabilizers than me. Her thumb button is so heavy most dudes can't get it to go off. She's pulling that hard. And if you watch her and it's a good
She
shot, you'll see
blows.
her really explode. Well, then that was a good shot. If you see that, it was a good shot for her. So it's based on the mass weight of your bow and how hard you pull. If I was Kyle Douglas shooting a 70% cam and I had 30 ounces on the front of my stabilizer, I better be pulling hard or it's going to drag me down in the dirt. So it depends on the mass weight of your bow and how hard you pull. I shoot a lighter weight bow and a very soft correction, and I don't try to muscle it. So therefore, my release is not extremely heavy. I shoot what I call a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you could measure it, you can't. But if I could apply 1 pound of pressure to my back, I'm applying a pound to my index finger. If I could apply two
Okay,
pounds, I'm applying two. That 1-to-1 ratio and keeping it steady, that's what's worked the best for me.
cool. Great answer.
I say I know we've had you on for a while here. I don't want to keep you too long, but I did want to ask about you. You talked about having, inventions and innovations and putting things together. Tell us a little bit about the thinking behind the weights on the wrist strap. With
Oh,
that,
the band.
yeah, I think it was last
Yeah.
year it came out
Yeah.
and kind of burst on the scene. And I've noticed, I know there's something to it because I do prefer a brass release compared to a normal. I've shot them both side by side, and it just seems like the heavier one aims better. I even drag it to the deer hunting woods. I was like, yep, I got my
Sure.
my brass stand, or I used to run the brass HBC. I like the brass ones better. I have no idea why, but something about having more weight back here.
It steadies you up. Well, just imagine I had some different notes and I had some little invention stuff laid out. Well, I had a student come in and I hadn't seen him in years. He used to shoot against me 30 years ago.
Okay.
Um, and I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying it. But his last name is McKenzie. His dad started McKenzie Taxidermy and the McKenzie Target Company and all that. So Todd was in for a lesson, and he saw this prototype sitting there, and he says, "What is that?" And I explained it to him, and he goes, "Can I try it?" And so he went out in the yard and he tried it, and he goes, "This is awesome. Can I take one of these prototypes home to Dad?" Well, his dad has like Parkinson's and has like a shake or whatever, and it was getting hard for him to, like, say, drink a cup of coffee or do this or that. And my sister's involved in the medical field, and I thought about this product because there's weighted silverware for people that have different debilitating muscular diseases, but they really don't do that much. I mean, you can only make a spoon so heavy. And I thought about brass releases, and I thought, I shot aluminum tension releases, and they were okay, but the brass releases I shot way better when I won the worlds with them. So I thought, we have stabilizers on the bow that keep the bow from wiggling. But if you watch some great shooters and if you really zoom in on them in pressure situations, you'll see
Yep.
this right hand doing this or the whole right wrist. And I thought, what if I could just reach up and I could grab somebody right here and they wouldn't move? Would they shoot better? And I thought, yeah, they would. There's nothing that stabilizes this. There's never been any invention that does it. So I came out with the band, and it's focused around tungsten weights because it was the smallest, densest material that I could come up with that would work. And the secret to it is you got to treat it just like a stabilizer. So, in my opinion, I would tell everybody start off with it on the bottom of the wrist and, shoot the base weight, shoot the full stack, then put it on top the wrist, shoot the base weight, shoot the full stack. And in 4 groups, one of them's going to stand out and everybody's different. Then you just treat it like a stabilizer. Just adjust the weights until it makes you steadier here and shoot your most consistent shot. So, Sharon, she's shooting a Velcro model right now that's got a certain base weight. Michael Braden, I think he's back and forth, I think, between the Velcro and the band model. I don't remember what weight Michael shoots. Rendon Brooks, she was in the shoot down round this weekend. She was shooting it. But yeah, just think about it as a stabilizer for the other side of your body. Just like you think your little brass release does something. I agree with you. But the difference in weight between the lightest aluminum and the heaviest brass is maybe 4 ounces. Well, band, the two different models are adjustable up to 26 to 28 ounces. So they pop.
Oh, oh no! I think we're losing him right here on the end.
Probably right.
There
Yeah, with me.
There you
Okay.
go.
We got 20. The different models go up to 26 and 28 ounces.
Yeah, depending on the base weight. So, and there's more stuff coming for the people that are barebow or Olympic style, and then I've got a model that is really kind of aimed at the whitetail deer hunter because he's not hiking up mountains, but we know what buck fever does. So,
Yes,
standing
sir.
in that tree stand when you get so excited and that left leg won't hardly stand on the platform. Well,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you could just imagine if somebody could reach up there and be there for you to just hold this right here steady, that's what the band does.
Cool.
That's awesome because I've been nerved up. I've never shot an arrow of any consequence in a competition. We're just amateur class, but I've shot in a few shoot offs and a couple of rounds where, you get down to the end and you're going to shoot a 300, you get nervous. And it wasn't that my bow was shaking. It's that my peep sight was, I'm nerved up from front end to back end. And I'm like, okay, all the stabilizer weights in the world aren't going to help me back here. And I've seen those.
That's right. It's on the back side. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got stabilizers for the front side. We've had them forever, but there's never been anything for the back side until this.
Does it do anything to change the point of impact to your bow? Everything's the same. It's just the follow through. You don't have to adjust anything up here. You just play
I
with the
haven't
weight.
seen any adjustment for anybody. It's keeping that backside a little more stable. It's keeping you in your peep. It's keeping you in your alignment better. So for the people that pull out of their peep or coming out of their shot, it seems to help with that. That's been the bulk of it.
Okay. Yeah. Looking around the pin, that kind of thing.
What's that?
Look like when they're looking around the pin, trying to do this number.
Or
this
just
number.
pulling through the shot. You see some people kind of digging down into the shot or lifting away from the shot. Well, with all this more stable, it keeps all that more in line and more consistent. But again, everybody's different. The biggest secret, if anybody ever goes to try a band, is you got to try it on the bottom, you got to try it on the top, and you got to run through the weights. That's the biggest secret.
Where can they find them? Were they readily available?
Lancaster Archery Supply.
Okay. I want to make sure we got that out there. Yep.
I'm getting one. I'm desperate. It's June. My scores have gone down all year due to poor execution. I need something that's going to fix my mental game immediately. So,
well, Lancaster is there on site usually at most of the shoots. They got them, and here at this last tournament, the Timmermans that had the Zebros booth, they had some of them on display there.
Yep. Cool. We know Brad and Tara. I hear
Okay,
a lot
yeah.
of them. I'm the state director in Oklahoma, so Tara's my neighbor and Brad's my direct supervisor. He was the regional director. Now he's the assistant to the federation director, national position. So yeah, every time something goes wrong or I have a question, I'm like, Brad, you got to bail me out on this one. He goes, oh, what'd you do to him? I was like, oh, they did it on their own. They're just calling me for cleanup, and I didn't know, so I'm calling you. And that's the way
they both run the band. And when she first put it on, she won Metropolis last year with it.
Yeah, I saw I think she was second place this last London, right? She had a good weekend.
I didn't catch it. No, we were busy, and I know they were crazy busy in the booth, and they have been ever since the whole Zebras thing. So I'm happy for them.
I feel for them. It's hard to go run a booth and try to shoot a good score at the same time.
It is.
But you got to be locked in. Well, Jack, before we hop off here, I appreciate it and congrats again on the win and several of the past ones. Take a second if you want and run through all your sponsors. We'll make sure to tag them in the comments down below, and anybody you want to shout out, floor is yours.
I just thank everybody that supports me, friends, family, everybody that's been there to back me and knows the work and the struggles and the time, from mom and dad, sister great friends back home. Without them, I probably wouldn't be alive today to be doing this sort of thing. They know who they are, but obviously Mathews and Victory and Bowfinger, Tac Vanes, ETAC, Zeiss, True Ball, AAE, all these guys. They're just great people that make products that I think I can win with, and that's why I shoot them. If I think something will put a point on my scoreboard, then I shoot it. The lens can't hit what you can't see. So X Focus 365. I mean, to me, Chuck's got and I've got a lot of friends that make lenses in the business, and they're great people. But for me, in my eyeballs, the X Focus 365 works for me. QAD, I've won shoots with a fall away, but I think there is something inherently forgiving about a blade. I think it is far more forgiving to your oopsies and your ups and downs and your oopsie pluck jerk throw fall downs. I think you get away with a little more on a blade. So I love their QAD's Tri Rest, and I just love the game. Love the sport, love the folks, and I think you got to have that love of the game. And anything you got to do to put a point on your scoreboard, do that. Like I said, I don't care if it's a lucky charm or something you clip to your hat. If you think it helps you, you do it.
Do you have any social media that people can follow you with? Hello.
I know he does.
Yeah. Hello. Will we ask one too many questions that the internet gave out? Oh, there he is.
There we are. Yeah.
I said, do you have any social media platforms you'd like to? Where can people follow you at?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Where can people follow you at on social media?
Just my Facebook page, Jack Wallace II, Jack Wallace II Archery.
Okay.
On the athlete page, and Instagram, same thing.
All right. Well, we got it. Well, we appreciate you taking the time after the water emergency and still logging in and talking with us. I know our listeners will be greatly appreciated.
Guys, thanks for your time.
You
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Go win another one and come right back. We'll do it all over again.
I'm going to give it what I got. I got a few more chances.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.